feed these hungry Steam Deck fans. Alright. Okay. Hello viewers and subscribers. Oh, listen up, you Steam Deck fans. You have a Rust problem. You like a Rust problem? Listen to this. It says here, Rust developer has no plans for Linux or Proton support. Says games that support them are not serious about anti-cheat. So basically, he's trying to use the anti-cheat against the Steam Deck, like how Roblox, Epic, EA, now Rust has joined those group. Anyway, it says here, so much of my Steam machine plans. Anyway, it says here, let me read it again. It says here, Rust developer has no plans for Linux or Proton support. Says games that support them are not serious about anti-cheat. But then it says, so much for my Steam machine plan. Anyway, it says here, Rust has a long, rocky, will they or won't they history when it comes to official support for both Proton and Linux. And with a new Steam machine on the way, it's no surprise to see those conversations popping up again. Valve's cute little cube will run SteamOS and use Proton, a compatibility layer to make Windows games play nice with Linux, but you can't play official Rust using it. Says here, the latest plea for the official Proton support started on Reddit, where Scout 339 version 2 shared their screenshot of Rust running on a server with Easy Anti-Cheat disabled to show that the game already works perfectly on Linux. Disabling Easy Anti-Cheat is the key factor here, and a part of the broader conversation where Facepunch and its Linux/Proton user base don't see eye to eye. While it runs Rust on Proton, you can't join official servers, and most unofficial servers with Easy Anti-Cheat disabled. Facepunch considered changing its stance in 2022 when the Steam Deck launched, but didn't end up introducing official Proton support. Alistair McFarlane said at the time that Linux is safer for cheat developers, and that trying to support Easy Anti-Cheat on other platforms could reduce the Steam ability to support Windows. Says here, noting nothing has changed since, and McFarlane reiterate the studio's previous stance in the thread. Says here, there are no plans to support Proton or Linux, said McFarlane. It's a vector for cheat developers, and one that would be poorly maintained by both of us and Easy Anti-Cheat due to the low user base. When we stopped support for Linux, we saw more cheat users exploiting Linux than actual legitimate users. Says here, as McFarlane indicate in that response, Rust did once have official Linux support, but Facepunch discontinued it in 2019 for the same reason. It chosen not to pursue it again, citing the challenge of supporting another OS and the cheating problem. A follow-up blog addressed the community request for Proton support as a solution, and while Facepunch owner Gary Newman stated they were not opposed to it, there were still no plans to support Proton in an official capacity. Says here, from the experience, I am very comfortable saying that if a game supports Proton or Linux, they're not serious about anti-cheat, McFarlane wrote in a Reddit post thread. The only exception would be if they have a fully matured, dedicated in-house anti-cheat team. Even then, I am not seeing anyone handle Proton and Linux well. Then here he says here, cheating is of course an inevitability when you're dealing with online multiplayer. Anything but you can do what you can to mitigate it. Some Linux and Proton hopefuls cite their small numbers as a reason to offer support through Valve's compatibility layer, But it sounds like McFarlane's point isn't about what cheat developers are using to boot and play Rust. It's more about the extra avenues they've created and its potential to be exploited on all platforms. A weakness in the bunker, if you will. That says here, the issue is multiple on which address your commit. It opens a new vector, said McFarlane. Cheaters don't need to use Proton or Linux. That's the core problem. Cheaters simply have to exploit the module that Linux/Proton uses, creating an exploitable vector which is compatible on Windows for cheat users. You're then fighting abuse of the Linux/Proton and Windows module. Admittingly, I toyed with Linux very little, but understand the yearning for support. That's especially true now as I try to unplug myself from the Windows ecosystem as much as possible. It's a bummer, and I feel that frustration a little more every time I have to do some extra tinkering with games on the Steam Deck. I know that every time I post something like this, some Proton and Linux users call us lazy and dismissive, said McFarlane. The reality is that fighting cheaters on the front Windows is already a never-ending battle. And then it says adding more front multiplier or multiples or multiplies that challenge without adding the meaningful benefit to wider the player base. And who else? And that is that. So we got another developer not supporting let's see, Proton and what's that? Proton and Linux. But it sounds like the same the key word I caught in this was the user base. They say the user base is not big enough. So basically they're doing the same thing what EA did, what Epic did, what Roblox did. They're looking at Windows user base versus Linux, and that's the issue that Linux is is facing. I mean, even though Linux has gotten better, like Windows still has that big user base. So the developers, they will use cheating as an excuse and live in this fake denial world, like Windows don't have cheaters. You don't see EA complaining no more after 300,000 cheaters were caught playing Battlefield. Just saying. So the saga continues. So Linux beating Windows now is like, Steam beating Windows. That's gonna be a beating Windows. I don't think Valve is like really focused on that, but developers, some developers, they will use the anti-cheat as an excuse, for not supporting Linux. Windows got a big user base, like 95%, on Steam, and then Apple and Linux is like has like 5% to deal with. So that's the issue. So they'll try to use anti-cheat, but they'll live in this denial world, like there's not cheaters everywhere on Windows. So that's the story. The story with Linux. Doesn't mean it's a bad operating system. It's a user-based number. It's a user-based number issue. Yeah, it kind of reminds me like when I remember when the PlayStation 1 came out, and then you had the Nintendo 64 out, and you had developers putting a lot of games on on PlayStation versus the 64. It was like a cartridge versus CD issue. So the same rule applies to like Microsoft and Linux. So like if you go into like when the PlayStation 1 was out, if you had read what was that? I think it was an Electronic Gaming Monthly. When they do the reviews on games, they'll have like like 3 games for the 64 that they review, and then like with PlayStation they had like say 10 or 12, you know. So yeah, so you know the user base on the PlayStation 1 was bigger than the user base on than the user base on the 64. You know, so when it comes to Linux and Windows now, it's the same. The user base is smaller compared to the user. Linux has a smaller user base compared to the Windows. Even though Linux is growing and Steam has gotten better, it's still a user base number. So these developers now, they use the anti-cheat as an excuse, you know, for not getting things done with Linux, getting things accomplished or done with Linux. It's just a Windows user base number. Doesn't mean that Linux is bad, you know. It's just the developers, you know, they try to make some kind of lame excuse, you know, when you look at it. So yeah. But anyway, I'm gonna leave this video for y'all to enjoy. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Nice talking to you people again. See you next time. Bye for now.